Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Sunrise, and we're taking a look at some national issues today. I mean, we've talked about the ministerial.
A lot of passion in the last segment.
Absolutely. Yes, so we have to take that break. But let's move on now to another critical issue. Ogoni land has been ravaged by devastating oil spillage, which has destroyed farmlands, aquatic life, and even unleashed monumental and multiple forms of land, air, and water pollutions in the process. In 2006, the federal government of Nigeria commissioned the United Nations Environment Program, a UNEP, to carry out an environmental assessment of Ogoni land in Rivers State, south of Nigeria. Now, the UNEP's report on Ogoni land, which mapped out what to do in the Niger Delta area and its degraded environment, was released in August of 2011 under the Goodluck Jonathan administration, but no action whatsoever was taken about its implementation. It's been 3 years now since the June 2016 launch of the cleanup of Ogoni land in Bodo, River State, by Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and over 1 year since the federal government announced the commencement of the cleanup with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, and multinational oil companies mobilizing $180 million for the cleanup, and 21 contractors are engaged for the exercise. Now, the question is, what is the state of the cleanup process? That's what we're going to be discussing in the next.
That question is not to me.
I know. All right. So we have in the studio to discuss that with us, Mr. Marvin Dekill. He's the project coordinator of Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, HYPREP. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me over.
So you got the first question there.
Yeah, the state of the remediation.
Yeah.
Well, I am very pleased to announce to Nigerians, to Ogoni people, that the project has started earnestly. And as I speak to you, contractors are already and are still on site carrying out remediation at various sites across the 4 LGAs. Work at each of these sites at different levels. We have mobilized 21 of those contractors, and they are all actively working, doing two things: doing the actual remediation work for which they were awarded, and also employing the local youths to participate in that process. In addition to that, before we proceeded, the Minister of Environment at the time, Suleiman Zarima Hassan, went with myself, the governing council members, the BOT members. We went to each of these communities where the contractors were awarded this contract to carry out very robust engagement and sensitization of the community on the need for support for the project and on the need for the benefit that the project offers the population. The benefits that the project offers the population are in many folds. One, environmental remediation, which is key. Two, the attendant health issues that come with a polluted environment. Three, the job opportunities for the local youths. Four, the business opportunities that come with it. And the technical training skills, capacity building that this project offers to the technical manpower of the population. And I'm also very pleased to tell you that the 90 to 95% of the technical manpower of HYPREP are indigenous. And I'm talking about people with PhDs, experts in geology, in chemistry, from different backgrounds, some of which we recently gave some further training and capacity development in Switzerland, in Geneva, working along with the UN environment. So there is so much, I mean, a whole lot for the Ogoni people and for the community and for Nigeria to gain from this project. And we are fully on course delivering this. It's important also to add that the people have been most supportive. They've given us all the support that we need, and we continue to engage as we speak. More specifically, two of the local governments have been outstanding, which is Eleme local government and Thai local government, where contractors have been working and working with maximum cooperation. Only yesterday, we cleared the site, the only one site which came in the first lot in Kana local government. And we've been getting maximum support from the Kana local government chairman, as well as the leadership of the local government. So that site is on. We've already cleared sites in Gokana area, and we are on course mobilizing to these places.
Okay, so you've mentioned two areas, LMA and Thai. So you're working in these areas right now? Yeah,
we're working in the 4 areas. But why I mentioned this is the work has progressed. Could you
mention the areas that work is presently going on?
Oh, there's a work going on in Korokoro in Thai, in Botem in Thai. In LMA, we have Aboy. I mean, in LMA, we have Alode. And in Alode, there are other communities where work is also going on. But the way we have structured the work is in lots. So we have different lots. We have 21 lots, five of the lots in each of the the 4 local governments, and then another set of 5 companies, which were the FEC approved contractors, 3 of which are in LMA, 2 in LMA, 2 in LMA, 2 in Thai, and 1 in Gokana of the 5. So these are the different level of jobs and contractors that we have. I want to also inform you that of the 21 companies that were awarded, 16 of them fell within the approval limit of the supervising ministry. So the MTB, the Ministerial Tenders Board of the ministry, were able to deal with those. 5 were above the approval of the MTB of the Federal Ministry of Environment, and that went to the Federal Executive Council. And those were approved again at the Federal Executive Council. And these contractors were also recently mobilized. And in fact, one of them is on site, Jolie Nigeria Limited. They are on site as I speak to you.
When exactly did you commence this cleanup? Okay. When? Because last year, 2018, was when the announcement was made. So when exactly did you commence?
Okay, this is what has been happening. The Project Coordination Office, I'll take you through to the governance structure of HYPREP so that you understand where we are. Yes, you heard about the flagging of the project. And following the flagging of was the restructuring of HYPREP into governance structures, the Board of Trustees, the Governing Council, and the Project Coordination Office. Now, all of these bodies they play different roles. The Board of Trustees deal with collection of funds, coordinating that, managing that funds for HYPREP. The Governing Council deals with policy approval for the operations of HYPREP, and the Project Coordination Office deals with the day-to-day implementation of the work. So the Project Coordination Office that is responsible for the day-to-day work started in April 2017. Okay, so as soon as the Coordination Office was established, headed by myself, we started work. First thing we did was to do a mapping of the water facilities in the area, because a key recommendation in the report is the provision of water in impacted communities of Ogoniland. Okay, it's important that I use the word impacted communities because there has been a whole lot of misinformation about who should get water and who shouldn't get water in this. Then it talked about health study, again, of impacted communities of Ogoniland, which is trying to link up environmental pollution, specifically oil spill and diseases in the area. And these two things are things that when they needed to be done at the time the report was submitted and described at that time as emergency measures. Currently, 8 years later, when we need to implement the report, a lot of those things considered emergency still remain emergency. And things that may not have been thought at that time to be emergency have also emerged. Now, we have to focus ourselves, we stay focused on what was the reason UNEP came to Ogoniland.
You know why I asked the question as to when exactly, and when I say when did this cleanup start, I'm talking about the actual site.
Okay.
At the site.
You've
not mentioned that.
Okay, now I explain how that works too. How that works is that at the time we started, we commenced the initial process of characterizing those sites.
Yes. So after all of that process, when did the contractors move to site to start the work?
January this year, we got the contractors to site.
Okay, so how come there are some reports that they're yet to see, this cleanup exercise is yet to start?
Okay.
You mentioned Alodo. That is part of the areas that were mentioned.
Yeah.
Why would you think
some
of those community members
what we are doing
say they are not seeing you?
That is fine. What we are doing is so physical.
But it's not so
and so real that you couldn't be saying one thing against what is happening. Very recently, I hosted a group of social media influencers in my office. A lot of the report I was reading was nothing was happening as you were saying. And I said, I don't want you to go report not anything for high prep. I'm going to talk to you what we are doing, and I'm going to send you to the field. So you go there. When you come back, tell me what you see. And these people have been at the site. They have been at these various sites, and they have seen the work that is in progress.
Okay. I'm coming back. Why is it that you are on site and the people say they can't see you?
Because there are people who choose to state it that way. And my answer to this is that you are an institution. You watch Channels TV. You could go there and you will understand differently or accept what is being said. So we're not here to have an argument on what is so real. As a journalist, you can, as I'm speaking to you,
yes, of course,
attach your camera with me.
There.
Exactly.
We are reporting what the people are saying.
And it's subject to also you confirming what those people are saying.
Yes,
I'm giving those that opportunity for you to confirm that.
Perhaps because you say you started January this year, and maybe some of these people, you're yet to get to their area, or even the ones that you're there, all they see is perhaps equipment and nothing really going on.
Okay, let me explain this. The work we are doing is such that we have a strategy for the implementation. We segmented the site into complex sites and less complex sites. So all the 21 sites we're working on currently are the less complex sites. So we're taking out those ones. More of the sites that are complex sites, we are coming to those ones later. So the sites that we are looking at are only limited, and they are the less complex. So most of the work, which are in the complex sites, is what it is that we are starting next. So we are doing this in phases. The fact that you haven't seen high prep at your impacted site does not mean that we haven't started. It means that we are coming to those level of sites as we progress.
So what exactly are you doing at this site now?
Okay, what we are doing at this
less
site,
complex.
What we are doing is actually remediation. Now, how do we start remediation? We start by characterizing. And characterization means identifying the contaminants and also coming up with the best possible way of removing them.
But the reports have said all these things.
No. The report gave an initial indication. The process for cleaning up any site starts with an assessment. It follows by a characterization. It follows by the development of an action plan. Then remediation, then restoration. So the sequence of these activities is what we are following. So UNEP did the first bit, assessing, which answers the question, yes or no, this place is contaminated or not. Then the next thing is that a set of scientists go there to verify, confirm, quantify the level of contamination in that site, as well as come up with the best possible method of living or doing this, considering costs and efficiency, as well as the specific geological conditions of that site. So we are talking about for every one site that you want to remediate, coming up with a site-specific remediation plan. That's a very detailed and a scientific process.
All right. So project managers will tell you that stakeholder management is very key.
Yeah.
Now, so if you have a timetable and sequence of work to be done in these multiple environments, from what we're hearing, it appears that excellent stakeholder management is lacking here. if you already know that we won't come to this environment until October this year or February next year, it appears that you are not engaging these communities properly. Because if you have told them, look, you've met with their leaders and said, look, we won't be coming here until February next year, and we will begin work in June next year. It appears this is not happening.
Well, this is already happening. And this was the first thing we did. For every community where we started work, I can tell you authoritatively that we've not only done the consultation with the leadership, we have carried out sensitization at each of those communities. And I have the records for those. So what is it that we are doing and what is it that we are not doing? First of all, when this project started, a whole lot of people conceived it as a political project. So people who felt that this project was not in their political interest chose to report and to state it as a political one and as non-existing and as non-achieving. As a matter of fact, when we started the first sort of advert for companies to be, if we invited companies for submission of bids, people refused to participate, believing it to be political, believing it to be sham, whatever name they called it. Then we progressed. They observed that actually things were happening. Before they knew, we pre-qualified companies. We've listed the companies. We awarded. The next thing they said, oh, you excluded us. These were the same people who said they weren't going to participate because it wasn't real.
Okay, so you know
so
what?
We are at the point.
When we are going to take a break now.
Yeah.
When we come back, you tell us how you are going to, try and carry along all of these people who have misgivings, about this cleanup project. We'll be back in a moment. Just stay with us. Welcome back. So, Mr. Dehill, before we went on that break, you were trying to talk about, some misgivings in some quarters as to the operation of this process.
Yeah, what I was explaining to you is that stakeholder engagement is one of the key things that we started with. And only very recently, we did a town hall meeting in each of the 4 local governments in attendance, where the council chairman, the board and the BOT leaders, members of HYPREP, all the community leaders, I'm talking about all the paramount rulers in each of these local governments, all the CDCs of each of these local governments, all the youth leaders of each of these local governments, all the women leaders of each of these local governments were in attendance. I'm talking this as at the local government level. But before we went to the local government level, we started at the community, where again, each of those communities, the paramount leadership, the women leader, the youth leader, all of them were also in attendance, and we carried them along. In each community, we had a what they call a focal person, so that if HYPREP want to come there, you are the one that take us around. It's a team, okay? But there are people that as soon as HYPREP was formed, they believe they should be the one we're talking to. For example, on the Governing Council of HYPREP, we have MOSOP, which is the community group that did most of this agitation, represented. And so community-related issues are channeled through MOSOP to HYPREP for activities. You now hear people, different youth groups. Some will say, oh, you come talk to us. You come talk to us. There is an umbrella youth group that recently even did a letter apologizing for the discordant tones and different people asking for different things across the area.
My question will be, what do you want to do to try and carry even all of these people along?
That's what I told you, that a town hall meeting, these are the legitimate means of getting stakeholder engagement. We're doing that. Now, if you stay by the side and say, don't talk to the town hall people, don't do this, talk to us. If you don't talk to us, we'll go to the press and make this noise. We're not going to stop you. Okay. But so you're getting more of that.
Let me bring in, Coyote, Festus Akimboyewa on Twitter. He's saying that the federal government should have dedicated a website for Ogoni cleanup, like the second Niger bridge, so that Nigerians can monitor the process and they can also, be able to say, okay, this is what is going on here, that is what is going on there.
The HYPREP has a website. On this website, if you come to the website, you'll find information about this. The fact about this is that updates on each of the sites as we are speaking is going to be uploaded there very, very soon. And so that without a lot of questions you're asking me here, I would simply tell you, go to this website and you'll see it. So on reports on each of those lots will be downloaded to those websites. But there isn't a website
It's not
where
there yet.
there is a website. I'm just
No, we're not doubting the fact that
has a website.
Yeah.
But information
about the
concerning
specific,
Ogoni
no, it is there. But this one, I want to take it a step further beyond what you're asking for. That each of those sites where work is going, we are going to be giving you information on each of the sites. So there is general information about the project already, but we'll take a step further, which is what I'm explaining.
Yeah, you talked expressly about the interventions in the most impacted areas.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything like compensation in the framework for some of these most impacted communities?
Well, unfortunately, one of the mandates of high prep has nothing to do with compensation. Neither was that of UNEP. I was part of the UNEP scientific team that did the assessment. So I was in that team that did the assessment that produced the report. So I have background knowledge of where we're coming from. And I also want to add that what is recommended in the UNEP report and what the population are expecting, there's a big, huge gap. Because there seems to be this misconception that high prep has come to be another government where they will build the roads, build the hospitals, build the schools, award scholarships, create jobs. Far from it. The UNEP report is very specific to the actual deliverables. And one of the challenges of high prep as we speak, which we're working with your support, we could get it right, is to let people understand that high prep is only a project to deliver on the specific with its fixed budget, fixed amount, detailed in the report as to how to use it. So when you're coming to us and expecting us to start doing things that are not captured, that are not within the mandate of high prep, you're asking for what is not realistic. And so you feel disappointed when you're making such requests and having such expectation. So key thing right now is expectation management. That's why I'm calling on you, the media, to help high prep, let the world understand, let the community understand that, sorry, this project was designed to deal with environmental concern. 1, 2, immediate need for water in the communities where there is impact, immediate need for health in those communities again, and that is it. Livelihood that has to do, limited livelihood, for dealing with those people who own those facilities, those farmlands that were impacted. How can we give them a good life?
So,
but this has all been construed and turned the other way around. The high press has been set up to solve all of those problems across the entire region.
That means they still need for more information because there seems to be some gap.
There is a gap.
Okay, so P Bazia is asking, Mr. Dekil, can you tell Nigerians where your integrated contaminated soil management center is?
Fantastic. Within the UNEP report, there is a recommendation for the establishment of the contaminated soil management center. It's something that we have already started working on. Now, the UNEP report has stated we need an integrated contaminated soil management center. But it's not the kind of facility that you get up to build like you're building a house. It's the sort of thing that, yes, you want to do this, you now start with some feasibility. What are the things, the different components that make up that center? For example, a soil washing facility, a thermal desorption unit, an incinerator, and all that goes with it. So after I identify all that I need to go with, in what combination, in what proportion, and at what locations? So that is what high prep is currently doing. Developing that feasibility that would then give us that very firm and informed proposal, blueprint, that we will then build. Now, the thinking of the ordinary person is, you have this to build. They expect you to start building, coming up with a structure. Now, what do you need the Integrated Soil Management Center for? You need it to treat certain highly complex contaminants. Now, before you go to that, now, what is the proportion of the contamination that we are doing that falls within that category?
Do you know what? You're saying so many beautiful things.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the problem here. I don't think people really want to know the details of why you need that transparency. They just want to see it. And that brings me to the question, what is the timeline for the cleanup?
Okay. Now, a good question too.
How long before, again, let me add to it, how long before people begin to see structures? Because they can't
Okay. I guess that's the problem. It's a problem that we are now, the government has set up HYPREP to solve. This is the first time in the history of Nigeria that a remediation work is going to be carried out in a very professional, detailed way by the government. And we're talking about a problem that existed 5 decades. So we've had about 5 decades of a problem, and the UNEP report even stated clearly that it's going to take us 25 to 30 years to fix it. We are in the second year of it. And what people are expecting are the outcomes that should have come after 25, 30 years. Now, again, what is the professional and proper process for remediation work? That should be the question. Is it that when remediation happens, I mean, when a spill happens, you should deploy equipment and just start working, which is what we're used to. And that's why we're in the mess.
Do the people and their leaders know that this is going to take 35 years?
Of course. It's
in your engagement?
Of course it is. It is. We have been doing that. And like I'm saying, we have to start getting things done properly. We don't have to start getting things, continue with the way we know things to be, because it's more about what we know things to be, what we expect this to be, different from what actually this is and what we should be doing. It's a project that is going to take us that long, 25 to 30 years. We have to build the structures. We have to design the facilities. There is something called a center of excellence. The center of excellence is part of what is recommended, which is something that you're going to draw from the experience of the implementation to put together. But if you ask people, they'll tell you, where's the center of excellence? I will speak to you. There cannot be a center of excellence just like that. It will have to start somewhere. And we are considering some partnership with the River State government to use the facility of the Polytechnic in Bori, the Kensarua Polytechnic. I'm also very pleased to tell you that, again, in collaboration with the River State government, the water issues that we're talking about, River State Ministry of Water Resources, we already started the process of putting water in those communities, starting with the rehabilitation of the facilities owned by River State government. Again, we are going to install new facilities. We've already commenced the procurement process for the contractors that will do the work for providing water in the communities. So the key things we hear is, where is the water? Where is the Integrated Soil Management Center? Where is the Center of Excellence? Realistically, these things are all on. But it's not at the visible end yet, because there needs to be a lot of work done to get that proper design, to put it in, and then construct it.
This is interactive. We are getting emails, we are getting responses on Twitter.
Yeah.
Kylie, you have.
So we have an email from a particular lady, megide@yahoo.co.uk, and the question is straightforward. It says, please ask Dr. Dekil Marvin why HYPREP employees haven't been paid their arrears even after over a year the money was approved by the presidency. People that started HYPREP in 2012 are yet to be paid. How do you respond?
Okay, let me respond to that. That person is talking about a previous HYPREP that was set up.
Wow.
Yes, I told you that the project coordination office of HYPREP started.
Case,
I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you to that. This project coordination office started 2017. The issues of those payment has been resolved. Where we are, we're at the point where we need to invite those people in and get them properly documented, and they'll be paid their money. But it was a process.
When are you going to pay?
We already started that process. So the procedure for doing that, we're talking about the documentation of that process, and then they get their money. This is something I can confirm is what we're doing. Now, this is a HYPREP, like I said, that was under the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. The HYPREP we have now is under Ministry of Environment. So there needed to be a lot of interministerial collaboration to do, and so a 6-ministry committee was set up, headed by the Ministry of Labor, to review all that were the claims. And once that was approved, it was forwarded to the Honorable Minister of Environment, and he has set up the process for implementing this payment. So that has been resolved.
Okay, because Unwis Kase Kiaka is also talking,
addressing
in relation to that.
But I want to add again that payment again was not going to be for everyone. In that HYPREP, there were people documented as staff with their letters. So if you didn't have a letter and you work for the HYPREP, maybe the process for doing this, you will continue to get questions like this, because payment was approved for those properly documented as staff of the HYPREP. It's good to put that clarification so that people who were not documented don't come up when we're on program and say, we haven't paid us because you didn't get a job. You didn't have a proper job, like you're working in the channels. I'm sure you do have your letter that says you work here. It's not because somebody comes here every day that makes him a staff.
Well, that's one side of the story.
Yeah.
People couldn't be coming to a particular place and they're not documented and nobody stopped them from coming.
Well, again, like I explained, there are procedures for doing things, and we have to learn to get things done properly. Okay. These are part of the problems of our system.
Quickly, sorry, just one more response from here. Ndag Prince M says, can you please mention the communities in Ogoni to be cleaned up so that we can watch and follow you?
Certainly, I'll do that right now. There are 4 local governments, and the spill sites are across these 4 local governments. I will start in Gokana local government. Gokana local government, Bodo, where the flag was done, is 1. Bo, Mogo, Be, Videre, Kedere, Bomu, Bera are all impacted communities. Please look out for those communities and you see it. But for further information, you don't even need to go far. Get a copy of the UNEP report. Each of these sites identified they have coordinates with which you can actually identify and know where these are. In LML, we have Ogale, we have Ebubu, we have One. These are the communities where these sites are. But each of these communities also have multiple sites. And in the structure of what we have done, each of those sites have multiple lots. If you go to Kana local government, you're talking about the Yellow Away field, which is basically in Kwenya. We have Kwawa, we have Boan in that place. If you go to Tai, you're going to Kurokuro, you're going to Botem, you're going to Norwa, you're going to Pogo. These are the communities where these things are. It's all well documented. It's so international, the UNEP report, that I couldn't sit here to tell you what it's not real. And there's also information that is available to the public. So those are the communities. So you could very well, starting with our less complex side where we're currently working, we will get that. Also come to our website. This information are there. Come to our Twitter handle. They're all there.
All right.
You will see what we're doing.
Let me go back to something we discussed, we touched on earlier. Okay, so you've told us today that this entire exercise is going to take about between 30, 35,
25 to 30 years.
Great. Now, I also touched on the issue of compensation. So it means that there are people who are in their mid-age right now that may never see the change, and their livelihoods have been impacted. Now, your work may be difficult if as much work you are doing in cleaning up is not being done in terms of compensation. So that suggests that we need to have a holistic approach to this. As you're cleaning up, people need to be compensated and their livelihoods being sustained as this is being done.
Okay, now, like I explained to you, there's a livelihood component of this project. The UNEP report didn't talk about livelihood, but the federal government, considering this point you're making, added livelihood to it. And the livelihood aspect is what we have designed. We did an initial training of 15 people, just young people. We are carrying another one of 1,200 women, again with UNITA. UNITA is a training arm with the United Nations. It is important to note that everything we are doing here is being monitored with partnering strongly with the UNEP that did this report. So we have a contract that allows UNEP to be with us every step of the way. And the livelihood aspect of this, the first set of training, is going to be done by UNITA, which is training arm of the United Nations. All the technical training that we do is done by the United Nations themselves. So the point where I'm making here is that the project has been so structured for maximum impact and delivery to the population. There are critics, and they have their different reasons. We are not going to stop those people from talking. Maybe it is one of the reasons we have to engage and let them understand things. And as we engage, you actually see them, once they understand things properly, they begin to see a reason why things are done the way we are doing. Because we must get this right this time.
Let's talk more about this cleanup. So you said you started, the site work this January, this year. So how far have you gone, and what's the next stage?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. For each of the lots where we work in, work is at different phases. We have the initial 30% mark, where we hit the 30%, and that's a milestone. We have a further 40%, and we have the last 30%. So all of this is what we are monitoring. For the work that is going on
Where
now,
are you in the first 30%?
Most of the first companies, those first 16 companies, are almost getting to the first 30%, most of them. But particularly in Thai local government and Element local government, that 30% mark, they are even exceeding as we speak, because they have reached there, because we started early. And youth leadership, the community leadership of these places, they see the benefit of this project to them. They see the business opportunities. They see the employment opportunities. And the same reason why the other two local governments have quickly engaged, because it's important that we get this right and we begin to impact positively on the community, on the business life of the people, on the capacity, especially the scientific group, the technical group we're using. Like I said, 90% of them are Ogoni people. We're producing international class scientists that you couldn't achieve without a project of this type with the international collaboration.
All right, before we let you go, we understand that over 180 million US dollars is earmarked for this project. It's been mobilized. So we want to understand, is this amount for the 35-year project? How are you sourcing funding, and how sure are the sources of funding? Are they fully committed?
Okay, let me explain again. The funding of this project, UNEP recommended initial amount of 1 billion USD, okay, 200 million per year for the first 5 years. So the actual remediation work should be in the first 5 years. Subsequent activity has to do with restoration activities after you remediate. Now, the funding of this is provided by the JV, the federal government, the NNPC, JV partners. This has been done in line with every activities that we're carrying out so far. So how do we get the funds? My office generates the budget, send the budget to the governing council. Once governing council approves, send it to the board of trustees, who does it, in turn will do the cash call for the JV partners, and they release the money. So far, this is been working, and we're on track. So we have to agree that this project requires maximum cooperation of all the stakeholders. And who are the stakeholders? The IOCs, the federal government who is driving this, the Ogoni people, as well as the United Nations system, UN environment. And for this to work, there has to be a leadership that enjoys the trust of all of this. Currently, that's what HYPREP is.
Of course, and the people expect that this project will indeed be carried out in the best interest
of all the stakeholders
of Ogoni land. Thank you so much for coming on this morning, sharing your perspective with us. We've been having a chat with the project coordinator of Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, HYPREP, Mr. Marvin Dekio. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we go on another break, and it will be time to talk about the Farmers Helpline.